You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No-nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show!
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture Wise! Radio with heart in mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra tone is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons, or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. Are You Ready is an NP Media Group production and is the official broadcast of the Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, Ohio. The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast are those of the host and not that of the station, advertisers, or its affiliates. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You never know when an emergency is going to happen. Disaster can strike at any time. Whether stuck on the road, riding out a power outage, escaping a natural disaster, or surviving a doomsday apocalypse, what would you do? No matter the scale, whether 1 hour or 1 year, will you survive? You're about to hear what it takes to be prepared. Now ask yourself, are you ready? Have you ever heard the term prepper? What comes to mind? Some of you may think it's a crazy guy with a bomb shelter and an old army truck parked on the front lawn. Well, prepper simply is a person who is ready for almost any emergency, small or large. It's no different than on a rainy day taking an umbrella with you when you leave your home or putting a coat on when it's cold outside. So maybe you think you're prepared for a brief time in that environment. But what if a few minutes turn into a day or even a year? I'm your host, Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper, and I'm going to use my over 25 years of prepping and survival experience and knowledge in this program to help you and your family prepare to handle almost anything, from a small event, from a doomsday apocalypse. So get ready, because I'm prepared to enlighten you to seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? And I want to hear anything you have to say about the subject, whatever you may have to offer. You see, it's important that we share our knowledge with each other, learn from each other, and help each other out. You see, the more prepared those around us are, the better your chances of survival will be when a disaster happens. Now, I'm sure everyone has heard the term zombies. Well, those are just those that are not prepared and come after whatever you have. Well, the call-in number is 513-815-6336 if you want to be a part of the show. Again, that's 513-815-6336. Also, check out our live chat room on Spreaker. That's Spreaker, Spreaker.com. Just go to the Are You Ready show, search it right there in the search bar. You can get there live through the website, nickpiercemedia.com. I post exclusive content on the home of Are You Ready on Facebook and on Instagram. Just go to Are You Ready Radio. You can interact with other members of the prepping community before, during, and after our broadcast. So share your knowledge. So today, this episode, I'm going to be focusing on the EDC, or Everyday Carry kit. I've discussed bug-out bags, get-home bags, even car kits, all kinds of different emergency kits. If you've been listening to for some time now, and as I'm talking about this, you may start to think that the EDC is almost the same as a get-home bag. So let me first explain the main difference. Your bug-out bag stays at home, and that's the bag you take when you're bugging out or getting out of Dodge. Your get-home bag is either in your car, or sometimes a drawer inside your desk at work, or someplace which has equipment or gear that you need in order to get home should a disaster happen. Your EDC items should be on your person at all times, so it's going to be a lot smaller, a much smaller version of your bug-out, much smaller than your bug-out bag, but definitely a smaller version of your get-home bag. Now, when you think about their contents, EDCs and get-home bag items often overlap, so please keep in mind these names and acronyms. I wouldn't really worry about them too much. What really matters is that you're protected and prepared, and that's what we want to focus on. So when you hear the term everyday carry, you may think you already have that taken care of, and maybe you've been doing this all along. The average person heads out the door, and they typically have their keys, cell phone, wallet, or purse. And in that, of course, includes some cash, some cards, debit, credit cards, whatever, and your license, ID, whatever. Well, in your everyday carry kit, it really needs to consist of all the things that, first of all, you'd have on your person at all times in case a disaster or an emergency catches you away from your get-home or bug-out bags. Therefore, this kit is, of course, because it's on you at all times, it's much more available to you, and you're much more likely to use it a lot more than you would the gear in your get-home or bug-out bag. And, of course, there is that old saying that every prepper lives by, and everyone should live by it, that it's better to have and not need than to need and not have. But keep in mind, your EDC is not the kit you carry everything in. Remember, again, this is a small kit you keep on your person at all times. So I just want to make that clear right at the very beginning. Now, also, as I go through all the items to consider in your EDC, please keep in mind, though, that just like the episodes I do on the bug-out bags, get-home bags, your car emergency kit, when I'm talking about the big list, it is a list of everything to consider, not a list of items that you must have or carry on you at all times. So you're going to build your EDC based on the normal environment that you live in or work in every day. Some of you in rural areas may not have the same needs or items that someone in an urban city or environment may have, and vice versa. So really what I want to do is kind of like what I've done on past episodes when it comes to talking about gear that you should have and everything that you should stockpile or things that should be in your bags, is really just start with the big list of items. And I've compiled this list based on a huge amount of research I've done, especially over the past few years. And these items have been listed on websites and articles that tell you what you need. And of course, I will tell you, as you may know, or maybe you may not know already, I will go through what I may agree with, which I don't agree with all the items, and different things that I think may be good, may not be good, and as well as, I was really surprised that some items were left off these lists. So some of these articles that I've read and did the research on have been around for so long and have been compiled by probably experts that have been doing this a lot longer than I have, and I'm surprised that they leave certain things off the list, especially when it comes to an everyday carrier EDC. So I'm going to talk about what I have in mind as well, how it's changed, and especially how it's changed as I've lived in different areas of the country, and even when I travel, not just around the country, but also to other countries. And I also want to go over some of the most underrated items, and really those that are not covered. So, let's get started. Of course, first is the big list. And, on the big list, I agree with the first three items. Of course, if you have them and you need them. Some of these are, the first three items are obviously quite obvious. And as the list goes on, it's going to be, maybe some items are more obvious to most people that are listening, maybe some people, and some people never thought of these items at all. So really the first few items that you probably already carry, and this is all part of an EDC, everyday carry. There's nothing special at this point yet. Remember that, yet. Number 1, your wallet. Number 2, your phone. Number 3, your keys. Doesn't get easier than that. See, now, 99.9% of you out there listening already have the first 3 items in your everyday carry kit already done. Now, maybe for the items that you're not carrying yet, and about maybe most of you, if not some of you, are already carrying this already, but number 4 on my list is, or number 4 on the list, I should say, is the pocket knife. A simple folding pocket knife could really save you for more emergency situations than you really think or can imagine. However, really the last thing you want is to have your trusted companion fail on you when you need it the most. So, I recommend a nice high quality, very sturdy, solid, and reliable pocket knife, foldable. And this is just your everyday carry knife. Yes, you want it to be reliable, dependable, and all that. Listen, some people spend $100 on a knife, some people spend $300 on a knife, some people spend $10 on a knife. Find a knife that works for you. However, dependability, reliability, and quality is important. Now, this doesn't have to be the super knife of all times. This may not need to last you until the next zombie apocalypse. It just needs to get you through a few emergency situations and be reliable when you need it. So maybe having it forged out of the hardest metal in the universe is not necessary. You may have to sharpen it once in a while. But find something that works for you. And if you are one of those folks that want to get the best one possible, go for it. Maybe if that's the only folding pocket knife you have, and that's your main investment, then do it. I have multiple pocket knives. I have multiple kits. I believe in the redundancy, and I know that even though I have a reliable pocket knife I carry on me all the time, in each of my kits there is a pocket knife, because what if that's the only kit that I can grab at that moment, and that's all I have, and I don't have time to put anything in my pocket? So not only do I have multiple knives, I also have multiple fire starters, multiple wallets with duplicates of what I need, including credit cards and IDs. So just wish my wallets all made duplicate amounts of cash that I keep in them, but it doesn't work that way. That's for another reality and another show. Now, another thing you may want to consider, and these are not in any order of importance either. These are all just items that have been compiled from the lists that I've read and researched online, and that's a watch. Now, I'm not talking about a digital watch, and some of you may be thinking, well, wait a minute, what's wrong with my cell phone? And what do you mean not digital? Learn how to tell time watching the hands move. It's a mechanical watch, okay? Analog, not digital. And it'll continue to function, even if, we'll say, for somebody that may be preparing for an EMP disaster, an electromagnetic pulse. If you don't know what EMP is, it's electromagnetic pulse. That'll knock out the power. Anything electronic will no longer function. Then having a manual watch, it will continue to function because it runs on gears and it's wind up and all that. The hands move, time will continue, and your watch will continue to tell you what time it is. So aside from it working, some watches, some manual watches even, have extra functionality, such as a compass, a barometer. I don't know if you really need that or not. An altimeter. And you obviously want it to be waterproof and shockproof. You know, when there's an ordeal or an emergency situation, you want it to be waterproof to a certain extent, and you want it to be shockproof. Now, unless you plan on an emergency happening in a submarine thousands of feet under the ocean, in a trench somewhere, decide what kind of waterproofing you need on it. Something that's good for about 50 meters is typically good enough, and of course shockproof. Now, if your watch does have a compass as one of its features, that's great. However, if it does not, the hands on your watch can be used as a compass if you know how. So I should post a video, and you can go online and find many of them. I don't know if any of the tips in the bunker stuff that I have on YouTube showed the watch demo about using it as a compass. I know I've done this demonstration over and over again. I've taught some workshops about it. I know I've trained people doing it. It's just a matter of where everything sits between the hour and the minute hand and all that, and how to orient your watch based on what time it is to north, and then being able to navigate that way. You will need hands on a watch to do that. Obviously, it doesn't work in digital. Now, I get it. Some digital watches will not just display a readout of the numbers, but also display the hands. That's helpful. But again, going back to an EMP and power, sometimes some situations is not the time for your watch battery to die. You can always wind your watch up when it starts to slow down. But again, a digital watch or an electronic watch is not going to be effective in an EMP event or when the battery starts dying. Now, along with a compass and watch and all that, obviously just a standalone compass could help. You may not need a fancy field compass or map compass, although you're free to carry one if you want. But I typically just have a small little what they call button compasses in my kit, and actually just on the zipper of the little pouch that I keep my stuff in. And it tells you where north is and general direction. Probably it could get me through an elaborate compass course, but it's just really for general direction. Things may not look the same after a big disaster, and you are going to need some reference as to which direction you're heading, and maybe more so in a rural setting or suburban section than maybe in an urban environment. But who knows? Whenever it could be used, you'll have one if and when you need one. Another item that's been on these lists that I've read over and over and over again, this thing seems to make it all the time, and that's a hat. It's the type of hat you wear every day, but it really depends on how you dress, what kind of a job you have, and so on. But from what I understand, the most practical reason for a hat is two things. It keeps the sun out of your eyes, and it really ideals you to hide from someone, or even hide some of your EDC items, really. I mean, you could use it just to kind of cover over your face, just to duck around someone if maybe you're threatened or you're trying to escape the situation or whatever. And yes, it's, you can really use your hat as a way to store some of your items. But mostly it seems like the general consensus is to keep the sun out of your eyes. You may already be wearing a pair of sunglasses. That may be good enough. Another item that's made it onto every list that I've seen is the pen. Yes, a pen is great. Most people may think of them, though, as a unitasker. One function, they write, and that's it. Well, no matter what kind of pen you have, or even pencil for that matter, and I would probably prefer a pencil if there was only one thing that I could carry. Pens don't write on everything. Pencils can mark up almost everything. Pens could run out of ink or leak. Pencils can be sharpened very easily with your handy-dandy pocket knife, number 4. And they're a little more reliable as long as you have pencil. Now, and I guess there's mechanical pencils too, so I guess as long as there's lead. But in either pencil, you need lead. But in every pen, you need ink. Pencils don't freeze under extreme cold conditions, and they don't leak as easily. So the pencil would be my recommendation, but pen seems to be on the list of everything. Now, they make pens with non-freezable inks, refills, and stuff like that. You can buy those that are available, most sizes for different pens. And the other practical use of a pen, and this is kind of the way they've started designing them, especially tactical pens, and I love these. They're a little thicker. They're formed like a Kubotan. They're a great self-defense item or tool, not necessarily a weapon, but they're also a rescue tool because most of them do have that fine glass break point at the end that you'll find on most pocket knives as well. But really, don't forget the purpose of the pen, and that is simply to write, or the pencil for that matter. Of course, along with a pen, some lists that I've researched have mentioned everything from a small notebook to paper to that waterproof paper that stays solid and doesn't deteriorate and all that. If you're in the CIA, get flash paper or something. If you're running covert operations, this way you just put a spark to it and whatever you wrote on it disappears. You have fun with your paper, notepads, whatever you want to do. Maybe just a simple piece of paper just to write down the spot that you're parked in, which you could probably do on with your pen on your hand, is fine, just in a mall parking lot. This paper is not necessarily intended for any one specific purpose. If you don't carry a notebook, at least carry a piece of paper in your wallet. You never know when it might be useful just to jot down a license plate in an emergency. You can use it as a tinder in a fire. Well, that music means that we're coming up to the first break. Stick around. We're going to pay some bills. You're listening to Are You Ready? I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. More on this list and your EDC kit when we get back. Stick around. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home, on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show!
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture-Wise! Radio with heart in mind.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons, or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. And welcome back, everyone. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You're listening to Are You Ready Radio. Thanks for sticking around during that brief commercial interruption. But we need to pay the bills somehow. So until anybody drops off that big suitcase full of money, preferably $100 bills, but I'm not going to be too picky. You send in what you can. Thank you very much for the support that you give us already. But until then, we're going to have a few more of those this episode as well. Going on with our list, the big list of all the big list compiled of all the lists online and articles and everything written and everything about it. Oh, by the way, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about our EDC, or Everyday Carry. So we're on the 12th item on this list. And Band-Aids. Yeah, they just kind of throw in Band-Aids. Band-Aids are important. Again, these are in no specific order. So if you missed the first 11 items that you want to put in your EDC kit, make sure that you go back in the replay. And again, you can find us on all podcast platforms, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, you name it, Spotify. It's all over the place. But we're going to continue on for now. Band-Aids. No survival kit should be without these. At least maybe an assortment of maybe 2. That's really it. In mine, 2. There's also a larger gauze thing and a tourniquet, little one of those one-handed tourniquets and all that. I do have in my EDC a small little medical kit. If you're going to be doing major surgery, my little surgical kit is in my get-home bag with the first aid kit, which is a larger version of what I have in my EDC. And really, this is just what you'd run into every day in an emergency, not everything you need. A big fit hits the shan situation just to keep it clean for the radio so the sensors don't knock me off and YouTube flag me. So, yes, the fit hits the shan situation. So, just something for minor cuts. Just maybe some ointments. And I love those little single-serve, I guess you could call them, or single-use mini packets. Where there's like less than a fraction of an ounce of, we'll say, antibacterial ointment, or even those single alcohol swabs, those alcohol wipes. Those work great too. And, any emergency situation, really you're going to be dealing with some minor scrapes. And some of this first aid stuff fits in your wallet. You don't even need a special bag or a pouch or a box or a tin or anything for it. And, especially ladies, if you have a purse, that'll easily fit in your purse. If you're a lady and you have a purse, you have a little more leeway to carry a lot more stuff, even covertly than you normally, than most gentlemen may have. So I would highly recommend at least to keep a couple Band-Aids with you, maybe an alcohol pad or 2. You just never know. Now, of course, on the list, this can be very handy. And it's a small whistle. If you know how to whistle, that's great. I can't really whistle for anything. I can whistle, but it's not really loud. I don't think it would gain anybody's attention. Should I'm trying to get rescued from, we'll say, a spot where I'm not able to move or call for help, or if something happens to your vocal cords or maybe something's going on, your screams and shouts may not be heard. A whistle is very handy. And, some of this stuff can attach right to your key ring, too. So you'll get people to know that you're there. And even if it's like one of those like little tiny little toy whistles or something or anything. People may think that's cute, but, if you need to use it someday, it may save your life. Another thing that made the list is chapstick. You would think it's pretty self-explanatory. Well, really, it turns out that chapstick really has several uses. You can use it to stop small cuts from bleeding. Chapstick is also flammable. It's also a lubricant, so you can use it to start fires. You can use it on like zippers, screws, nails, things that may be tight that you're trying to remove or tighten. And chapstick really does have a lot of uses. So chapstick is very handy to have. And again, really depends on what your everyday needs are, situations that you may find yourself in. Another thing that made almost every list that I actually took off the list, because I feel that a bandana is probably more practical than what they were calling a handkerchief. So, a bandana, I think, would probably stand up to I think it's a little more less delicate or sensitive, and probably has more uses based on what it's made out of than what most handkerchiefs could be made out of. I think they're a little more rugged, if that's the word I'm looking for. Yet it's another great survival item that has a million uses. Everything from protecting your head and neck from elements to melting snow. A number of different ways. You can use it to filter water. There's so many things. You could use it as a bandage. You can use it as a sling. You can use it as a number of things. And I think just overall in size and durability, that's the word, durability of it, I think it has a lot more uses than just a handkerchief that you could use. It's a lot smaller. It may not be as rugged, may not be as durable, and really just was originally intended to blow your nose. Another thing that's been on every list is a multi-tool. They come in a lot of different varieties. Leatherman is the most popular. Swiss Army knife is another of the most popular. Not to really plug any particular brand. Say any one is better than the other. When you're looking for a multi-tool, it has typically screwdriver, little scissors, pliers, knife, saw blade, a number of different things on it. One of those multi-tools, they have different size, maybe Phillips head, a file, and all this other stuff. Find a multi-tool that you think would be best for you, something that fits in your kit, something you know you're going to use, something that's handy, something that's going to last, and something that you're going to use based on what your needs are. Sometimes folks think that the more tools it has on it, the better it is. I don't see that. It's either too cumbersome at that point, or it just has too much, and you really forget what's on there. I wouldn't bother with, the big 54 tool Swiss Army knife. At that rate, just get a toolbox and forget about this whole EDC thing, and you just have a toolbox. Okay? It just gets ridiculous. But again, everybody has their own personal preferences. Like I said, as we're going through this list, I'm going to give my own personal opinions on some of this, and especially for one particular item on this list, and I'm sure that you guys probably already know what it is, and you'll know when it gets close to me mentioning it. You're going to start hearing it. So the multi-tool, great idea. Definitely very handy. Comes in all different styles, configurations, and different tools that are on there. Now, another thing that's been on a number of different lists, not everyone. So this is kind of in the middle here on this master list that I made up among all the research that I've done, is a Fresnel lens. A lot of folks like this. It does fit in your wallet. It's different ones. Now, I know that some of you may be thinking of Fresnel lens, and every time I read this, I always think of the same thing. And it's what it's initially, the version that they're talking about is used for like signaling, starting a fire, and a couple other things. They can be very handy. A Fresnel lens will also magnify an amount of light that you're shining through it. Depending on how far away the light source is, it'll make it a floodlight, make it a spotlight. Okay. That's the gist of a Fresnel lens. When I think of a Fresnel lens, I always think of the big stage lights with this heavy piece of glass with these ridges in it, and that's typically a Fresnel lens. It's not a very smooth surface, and so I can see why it's used for different signaling methods, fire starting and stuff like that, because it is very practical at doing that. It intensifies the amount of light coming from a particular light source, and depending on the distance it is from the light source, the further, the more narrow the beam, the closer, the wider. As far as the mechanics of lighting, which ask a lighting major, that's the answer you get from me on that. I think that there's other gear that you could probably put in your kit besides a Fresnel lens. That would probably be more useful when starting a fire, signaling, and all the other stuff that you could possibly use a Fresnel lens for. Now, with that said on the Fresnel lens, that's not the item that I was going to tear apart on this list. That's coming much later, and when I say it, you're all going to roll your eyes and say, oh no, here you go. Why did he even mention this? Because it's just going to piss him off. But I'm going to move on to the next item before we get to that one particular item. I know the suspense is killing you. Hopefully this happens before this next commercial break. If not, I really got you to listen. And for those of you that are listening forever, you know the one item that I hate in all prepping equipment is the item that does make it on this list. I think it's in the 20s somewhere, but we're only up to 17. That was the Fresnel lens. 18, fish hooks. Yeah, fish hooks are a great idea. And, one thing about fish hooks is maybe you want to make a small little bag with the hooks in it and maybe some line and a couple maybe little weights. Now, yes, you can improv that depending on your skill level and the resources that you normally have around you in everyday life to be able to get fishing line or a sinker or something, and even bait. Fish hooks can easily be made out of an aluminum can, a soda can or something. So keep that in mind, too, when you're making your fishing kits. If you're going to put a couple of hooks in your kit, you may as well take, and what I do is I have these little EDC fishing kits that were great for survival kits that come on a little mini metal reel. And you can buy plastic ones in a sewing shop or even just a spool of thread and wind your fishing line around that. So, I would just, at that point, make it a lot easier and just have the fishing kit. It's a great source of food. Now, if you live in the desert, forget about the fish hooks. Forget about the whole fishing kit. Yes, they can come in handy for other things, maybe as far as setting snares, traps, and stuff like that when it comes to catching what animals may be available out there in a desert situation. But again, when you create your EDC kit, you're going to think of the environment that you're in on a regular basis and what resources you have and what you're going to need to source things from those environments. Now, aside from your fishing kit, or even just fishing hooks if you want to go there, a fire starter. Over and over and over, I've read these lists about fire kits, fire starters, waterproof matches, and ferro rods and all that. Regardless of what it is, matches, lighters, as regular disposable lighters, even Zippos, and matches, you can't necessarily rely on them. Yes, there are ways to waterproof regular wooden matches, regular kitchen matches. You can watch a video that I do on it. I can show you how it's done. There are ways to keep it dry in little dry containers and little match holders and stuff like that. Matches are, I think all fire starters are fairly expendable items. Again, this is your EDC. This may not be designed for long haul. But really, when it comes to your fire starter, find something that's easy to use. And of course, they say lighters. Obviously, yes, you use to start a fire. If you have enough room in your bag or your purse, 2 lighters just in case, because they break. They don't always work. The flints pop out of them. They run out of fluid. You could drop them and they break. I mean, let's just face it. The lighter's not really reliable. On the refillable ones, of course, fluid will seep out of them and even evaporate and dry up in like a lighter, like a Zippo or a Zippo-type lighter. Waterproof matches, they're great. They're very expensive. No one ever wants to use them. They typically won't really work 10 years later once you decide to use them. Having 2 ways to start a fire is very handy. In my kit, I would prefer just a straight old-fashioned ferro rod. You can scrape with the back of your knife, a little striker that comes with it, or the permanent match. A permanent match is a little stick that goes into a container with a wick on the end of it that screws tight, sealed with a rubber gasket, and inside the container is a flammable fluid, anything but something combustible, like gasoline. You don't want to use that. Kerosene, lighter fluid, lamp oil, even charcoal lighter fluid can work. Just anything, rubbing alcohol will work. Anything to put on the wick to keep it wet that is that's flammable, so that the wick doesn't burn. It's just like an oil lamp. It's reusable. The fluid stays in there pretty much forever. I've only had one dry up on me, and that's only because I realized that the rubber gasket on it maybe 2 or 3 years after I had it cracked when I over-tightened it, just under the right conditions, and the fluid leaked out. But outside of that, I've had plenty of these things over the years. I have them in all my kits, and even though I check them regularly, all my kits I check regularly, not just the fire, not just any of the fire stuff, but everything in it. I haven't had one that I've opened up when I was ready to use it that wasn't ready to go. So forget about the waterproof matches. Don't worry about a lighter. Ferro rod, fire starters, that's my recommendation. That's 21 items right there on the list so far, and we got rid of about 3 of them. If you have a good multi-tool, you really don't need the next item on the list. Number 22 is always like a can and bottle opener. Yeah, very handy. Some could be big and cumbersome, of course, unless you get like a military P51 or P38 can opener, which are probably the most common among preppers and survivalists. And, of course, popular in the military. That's where they originated. Then, the rest of them could be pretty big at that point. You may as well get a corkscrew, too, and enjoy a bottle of wine when the fit hits the shan. But skill is going to really determine whether you need one or not. Same thing with other items in your kit. Most multi-tools will already have a can or bottle opener on it, so having a separate one may not be necessary. But you do want to keep one handy. It's pretty clear what the utility value is of it. And I know when the situation arises, you're going to really wish you had one if you don't have one. And it really does save yourself the trouble of either having to find someone that does or taking the long way of, we'll say, finding a stone to open up a can. So let's see, what else do we have on this list? Now, when I was talking about the fishing kit, it really determines... other stuff in your kit may determine if you need that or not. Of course, not just the environment that you're in, the resources that you have available to you and all that, and if you need to fish. But another item that's always been on this list is this mil-spec power cord. What that really means is power cord is what they used on parachutes, I still do, I believe, for... So pretty much the power cord is, it's obviously a jacketed rope. It's got the outer layer, weave, and all that. But inside it has 7 smaller strands. And it's capable of holding up to 550 pounds just on one strand, on one complete rope. Now, the thing with the 550 power cord is each of those strands inside is capable of holding a certain amount of weight, and they're also very small. They're very thin. And if you have paracord in your kit, you may not need fishing line. You can just take a strand out of a length of that. Paracord in an EDC is a little bulky, even though it is lightweight. So it's a lot more compact than a lot of other ropes that are capable of holding that amount of weight. So it doesn't take up as much room, but it still is bulky for something you carry on you every day. Different lists and different sites and different articles that I've read recommend at least 10 feet. I would think that a paracord would be more of something if you have a larger pack or something that you would carry your stuff in, or even a hip pack. There is a thigh pack that I do wear around camp and outdoors and stuff, for different things. That's kind of beyond my EDC, even though it includes all the same items as my EDC, and my little EDC kit does go in it. That does add the power cord to it. There's maybe about 8 to 10 feet in there, and that's just for miscellaneous stuff. It's kind of like the extra rope you put in your car or your truck just to tie something down with if you need it. The other alternative, though, to carrying a lot of power cord on you, we'll say rolling it up or bundling it up into or coiling it up, I guess, as you do with a rope, and putting it in something, is to get one of those power cord bracelets that you can wear around your wrist. You really can. Some of them are even keychains. I've seen power cord beer cozies, and they're all made of power cord that you can take apart if you need it, should the need for it arise. The bracelet's made of power cord, and usually you get about maybe 1 foot of power cord per an inch of bracelet length, and it really depends on the pattern of the weave and the knot work, the way it's made. But you can wear these power cord bracelets if you want to, in order to make sure that you have plenty with you. You can even make your belt on your pants out of power cord. You could do other accessories with power cord. They've actually become pretty fashionable to have some different items, accessories, and stuff like that that can be worn, made out of power cord. And you don't really need a lot of power cord with you at any one particular time, just for an everyday carry situation. So keep that in mind, and it also saves room on something in a bag or something that you're a pouch or something that you're trying to put all the stuff in. Now, another thing that keeps making a list is spare batteries. You know, a spare flashlight battery, a spare, you name it. These lists are big into spare batteries. I really believe that you really only need one spare battery, and that's something to recharge your mobile device. Now, universal connectivity is always key. Keep that in mind. So try to find something with matching USB cables while your devices have them. I know right now a lot of folks are in this transition, especially with the Android platform. Some of them are Type-C connection, and some are regularly standard USB. A lot of the battery backup, solar panels, and all that are all charging with a regular USB cable standard versus the new Type-C. So just even having a short little cord on you with both on it could be helpful in charging maybe your battery backup that has a USB port on it that you can plug your device into, and a USB-C or to then power your phone. You may need to carry two little mini cables. You can get them in like 3 or 2-inch sections, little mini cables. You'll find them really cheap. I always like picking those up whenever I see them because they're perfect for little mini EDC and survival kits. Now, as far as all the other spare batteries for your flashlights and if you have a radio and all this, some of these lists really started listing some bulky items that you would need spare batteries for that I believe would be better off for your get-home bag or your bug-out bag. So not necessarily for an everyday carry EDC. The other thing, 25 on the list here, number 25 would be cash. So I know that we're really heading into this whole cashless thing, but really until then, during a blackout, when ATMs stop working, gas pumps, during a blackout, I guess gas pumps going to be working, but a lot of times, sometimes credit card machines may not be working. Sometimes it's just the signal of the processor that's down. Sometimes the machines or certain components of their systems down. At least you have some cash. Even some spare change for vending machines just in case could be very handy. But really, if you're lost out in the middle somewhere, what do you need money for? Well, if you're stranded, cash can get you a lot further than a card will. So it could really help get you back to where you need to be. In lieu of cash, yeah, you could even, some folks just say, I always wear this gold bracelet, or I always wear this gold necklace that I could always trade for, something. And, yeah, I mean, that works too. Cash is always the best bet. And, of course, cash may not be the most valuable thing that could really get you out of a particular situation. But if anything, at least it's also good for kindness to others. But you can also, offer to pay a ride with cash may sometimes get you a little further than, maybe hailing a cab and, paying the meter rate. Keep that in mind. So another item that's been on here is a small solar charger, which I kind of addressed when it came to batteries. If you have a battery backup for your phone, which all solar chargers have as a battery, which is what the solar does, it charges the battery so that it can then charge a device. It's where it stores the power. Look for a solar charger that not only charges the device not just by the solar panel, but also charges the battery via the solar panel. A lot of them out there on the market don't do that. So it's really only charging your phone when the sun's out and the cable's connected. It's not necessarily charging the battery itself to store the power when nothing's connected to it. Really, I would prefer more of a solar anything over just a regular battery, backup battery thing with the USB ports on it. But use what you have and see what works best for you. Sometimes size may be an issue, and the small battery backups do come a lot smaller than most of the solar stuff. Another thing in your kit are safety pins. There's really not much to add on this one. I'm sure everybody here at one point has found yourself in more than one occasion wanting to secure things with a safety pin or needed a safety pin for something. Everything from pulling a splinter out of your finger or your foot to trying to hold your shirt or your pants together with a safety pin. these are all things to consider. And, like I said, these are everyday carry items. Safety pins really don't take up any space, add any weight to anything. And at least having one or two in there could be very handy. Okay, here we go. It was just a matter of time before we got to it. But we're also coming up to that commercial break. There's not enough time in the world to rant about the next item on this list. So I'm going to have to hold this and save it till after the break. But for those of you listening, and it has to do with water, you probably know exactly what number 28 on this researched list of all the items everybody says you should have in your EDC are. And I'll reveal that when we get back. Stick around. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio. Time to pay some bills. See you in a little bit. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No-nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Hey, how you doing? This is Magic Pierce inviting you and yours to listen to some good friends of mine that have a show too. Did you really think my daddy is the only one that just runs his mouth all the time and that's the only thing I listen to? No, it's not. I got a show I listen to on Sundays. Join host Max and his co-host, my hottie Fritzy, and of course my good friend Abby on Counterculture-Wise, Sundays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. They have their own human guests, Melanie and Jim, each week. They don't meow a lot, but you get what they're saying. Now let me tell you, you have to go to counterculturewise.com. Use your paws to play with the mouse and scroll down to the on-the-air button on the right to hear their show. Just click on that. After that, watch them on Periscope like I do. Daddy gives me a little mouse to play with, and I get farts the whole time. It's a great show. Check it out. Counterculturewise.com. If you don't tune in, I get cuckoos on you.
Thank you so much for that ringing endorsement, Magic. It warms the orange hearts of me and Abby and the gray heart of Fritzy to hear you say such amazing things about our show. I'm pretty sure that Mumsy and Father have pink hearts, so we will assume their hearts are warmed too.
Forget about it. I got you guys. Good peoples.
Got a spare tire around that waist? Is your muffin top over the top? Do you binge eat uncontrollably? We are the government, and we are here to help you. Here at our free FEMA weight loss camp, we have numerous ways to help you shed those unsightly, unwanted pounds. FEMA, or Fatties Eating Mitigated, automatically has a communist-style weight loss czar that specializes in centralized weight loss planning and communal extended fasting programs to shed that fat away in no time. Skin and boned means extra toned is the motto. Just remember, there is no way you can do it on your own. We will forcefully assist you into compliance. Failure is not an option in this utopian wonderland. How fantastic. Typical workout regimes include digging ditches and restocking them with dirt, building railways and more. Get life skills while you get lean. How do you join? Simple. Recite the Constitution in a public commons, or violate the Patriot Act that includes simple misdemeanors. It's really that easy to get your own fenced-in slice of Americana. Stop being a fatty. The state is your daddy.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. And, before we pick up where we left off, I did want to mention, valuable things when it comes to preparedness and skills. And the Ohio Department of Natural Resources is offering a beginning archery program. And this takes place on the third Wednesday of each month from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The class is held at the Spring Valley Shooting Range. It's 3570 Houston Road in Waynesville, Ohio. All the equipment is provided. You're welcome to bring your own personal safety equipment. The class is open from ages 8 to 18, regardless of your experience, so from beginner to advanced. And if you want to check it out or you have any questions, I'm going to give you a number to call. And it's 937-269-3547. Again, that's 937-269-3547. And it's you can also there's an email. It's a long email address. They have a website though, ndr@ohio.gov, and I'm sure you'll find information about it there. Now this is a great program, and the weather's still nice. This is an outdoor archery class, from what I understand. So definitely take advantage of the beautiful weather we're still having, even in November now. And you can always make an arrow. You can't always find a bullet. So very valuable skill to learn. So this episode, we're talking about the EDC, your Everyday Carry Kit, and I'm going down the list of, through my research, what almost every expert says you should have in it. And of course, this list is getting longer and longer and longer. We're already we're at the top of the hour already, and we're about halfway through it. Of course, I have some add-ons at the end, so according to their list, seems like they missed out a few, and these are the experts. But good thing you have an expert like me with you. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. Of course, you're listening to Are You Ready Radio. And, I know, in the last segment, we were getting to number 28 on the list that the experts say we should have. Those small, inexpensive, and they take care of one of the most critical survival issues anybody can have when it comes to clean drinking water. Do you know what I'm talking about yet, folks? They literally kill all the bacteria and viruses in the water. In about 30 seconds, or 30 minutes, I'm sorry, about 30 minutes. 30 minutes. 30 minutes. I almost said seconds. That is incorrect, folks. 30 minutes. You know that I am talking about what I always call the dreaded, the worst prep, the worst item to stockpile, the worst thing ever that you can invest money in. When I say money, these things are not inexpensive. They're expensive. Yes, they are small. They may take care of the most critical survival issue. They don't last forever. They expire quite quickly, and you know what I'm talking about. Could it be water purification tablets? Now. Yes, there it is. You've listened to this show before, and I hate them. They do not last forever. People stockpile them. They spend a fortune on water purification tablets. If you live in a civilized first world area, even most third world countries don't even need these, but people like to stockpile them, thinking that in 20, 30, 50 years down the road, when the zombie apocalypse finally happens and no one has drinking water, you can get this water from who knows where that's contaminated with all kinds of things, and these water purification tablets are going to make these 100% pure because they're purification tablets, and they put them on their shelf. Have you ever checked them after a year? Have you ever just opened them up to see if they're any good? Read the expiration date. Now, I know we can get into the debate of expiration dates. Are the expiration dates used by, good by, best by dates and all that? Are the manufacturers putting those dates on there for the stores to rotate the inventory to order more product and buy more stuff? Do they encourage people to... Listen, the story behind expiration dates we've discussed before. However, this is your water. This is a tablet that you are going to put in your water, and your life is going to depend on it. When you look at a water purification tablet, even within the expiration date time frame, you open up that little bottle, they're stuck together. They're not always stored in the best conditions. They're in the back of the pantry. They're in the car. They've been in the sun. They've been to the beach. They've been to the dog park. They've been to the amusement park. They sat in your cabinet. You probably took them to take a little bath with you because you didn't have a rubber ducky. You have nothing else to do with these things. No one ever, ever, ever sits there, looks at their pantry with all the stuff that they stockpile and says, we need to rotate our stockpile. So you take the stuff that's about to expire, you move it to the front, you go to the food store, you have 12 new cans of corn, you put it behind the ones that you bought 6 months ago. Spinach, peas, beans, okra, collard greens. I don't know what you're stockpiling. Rice noodles, Lipton, tiny little rice-a-roni sides, and all this other stuff. You put it in the back of the cabinet, and you're constantly rotating your inventory, and you have your little pile of MREs there in that bucket, and all that's good. You know that that's going to be good forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So you think, and you look at these water purification tablets, and you say, and then you sit there and say, wow, we haven't had water purification tablets in a while. Let's eat those for dinner tonight. No one does that. No one sits there and says, we got to rotate our pantry and use our water purification tablets because they're going to expire soon. People may say, let's have corn with dinner because we got a couple cans of corn. We just got a fresh batch. We got to use that up before it goes bad. Maybe we should take that chicken that almost freezer burned. We should probably use it now, make that for dinner before it goes bad. But no one is sitting there saying, water purification tablets, that sounds good. Let's have those with gravy before they go bad. Unless you live in an area of the world, an area of the country, or unless you're dependent on these things to constantly purify your water on a daily basis, there's no need to buy them. They just go bad. They're expensive. They're not inexpensive. Are they effective? Yeah. Does the water look like you want to drink it by the time they're done purifying it? No. And I understand that, presentation is and survival is not all about culinary beauty, but come on. Now, eventually you'll have something that if it's still good, you'll be able to drink in 30 minutes, if you trust it. Now, my preference, if you're going to go with anything when it comes to water filtration, water purification, or anything like that, is something as simple as one of those life straws. Aquamurray makes them. There's a number of other manufacturers out there that make them, U.S.-based, that you can trust. And you can simply just suck water through a straw, and it's good to eat. You could drink out of a toilet bowl with these things. Try those instead. The filter doesn't go bad. They're good for somewhere between 20 to 30, sometimes 50 to 70 gallons, depending on what version you buy. They don't expire. They're lightweight. And they'll last until they're no longer any good, until they filter all the water that they can. So I would definitely go with something more like a water filter straw, life straw, survival straw. They go under a lot of different names. Then I would do, then I'd be likely to go with water purification tablets. Of course, if water purification tablets are the only thing I had, I'd probably rather parch myself with thirst. But I guess in a real survival situation, I may give in, just like I'd probably eat a salad if that's the only food around. After I kill the last of the cows in the world, I want steak. Now, number 30 on the list, and this is all very serious note, even though I may be making light of it. Yeah, I want steak. And number 30 on the list is pepper spray or some kind of self-defense item. So, yeah, self-defense is very important. This is why I'm very glad that cows don't have it. Because, during the apocalypse, cows are first. I need steak. I'll put chicken second, then pigs third. I'm a carnivore. So, when it comes to self-defense items, we definitely don't want the animals getting those. Pepper spray is number 30 on the list. And let's see. So, pepper spray is probably the most common non-lethal self-defense item. Not weapons. Remember, when we talk about self-defense items, they're not weapons. They're items or tools. It's a nice backup to have, too. But particularly since you can, purchase them in different sizes, like the mini bottles. And you can attach them to your keychain, which also saves space in a kit or a bag or a pouch that you may want to carry the stuff in. Besides pepper spray, you don't want to necessarily bury it in the bottom of your purse because it's really useless. Anybody that's going to attack you is not going to wait for you to go into your purse to pull anything out. And you can't sit there. I mean, think about it. How many times do you sit there looking for your makeup or your keys in your purse? How long does that take you? So you don't really have that amount of time. You want something like that always at the ready. Same thing if you think you're in a dangerous situation, whether you decide to go with pepper spray, a stun gun, or anything, or a baton. Having it at the ready is always the best option. Now, number 31 on this great list that every expert says you should have in your personal EDC, everyday carry, is cotton balls. Yeah, cotton balls are great. They can be used for a number of things. They're good for first aid purposes, such as, maybe clotting up some bleeding. They can clean a wound out, clean a dirty surface, you name it. You can use them to start a fire. Really, when it comes to fire starting, first aid, anything like that, you already have something that we mentioned earlier on the list, even if you don't have a full first aid kit, but just maybe some of those small little alcohol swab pads that are individually wrapped. I think that would do just fine. When it comes to anything first aid-wise that would really require something larger than a Band-Aid, I don't know if a cotton ball would necessarily be the go-to item for me. I prefer those OB tampons. It's just the absorbent part of it, so if you have a major wound, that's all you really need. It's just the absorbing part of that tampon, and it works great. You can use it as a clotting agent, wound dressing, and all that. So it'll definitely stop bleeding. That's its intended purpose, is to be extremely absorbent. And, I always like to keep one of those in a little mini first aid kit. Now, number 32 on the list is a mini first aid kit. So really that kind of goes back to the Band-Aid alcohol swab mini antibacterial ointment, and probably put one of those OB tampons in there. along with like the one-handed tourniquet option that I was talking about earlier when it came to just basic first aid supplies. Now, of course, it also includes the Band-Aids. Duh. Really, anything larger than that really becomes part of your get-home bag, which becomes a get-home item, and that's where you get into larger bandages. Now, in your first aid kit, your bandana is also kind of part of that as well, because again, it can be used as a bandage, as a tourniquet, as a number of different things. So keep that in mind. Oh, and a sling, all the other stuff we mentioned earlier. Regardless, it wouldn't hurt to pack, a little first aid kit, whether it fits in your wallet or in your pocket, or even a separate little Ziploc baggie or something in a little pouch. Just something to kind of keep that separate that you can get to easily, and all your first aid stuff's in there. And along with that, really comes number 33 on the list of like some over-the-counter medication. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't take any. Some people like to always have like an aspirin or something on them. Benadryl is very handy, and also maybe an antidiuretic like Imodium or any kind of generic brand for an antidiarrheal. Having an antidiarrheal medicine on you, tablet or something, is great, because one of the biggest problems you have in a lot of different situations, especially survival situations that you could be facing, is dehydration. So the more fluids you lose, which could typically be through diarrhea, especially eating or drinking any kind of contaminated food or water, would definitely help you retain at least some fluids so you don't dehydrate, end up with eventually some other serious problems due to that later on. And Benadryl is great just to stop certain allergic reactions, from everything from a bee sting to a jellyfish sting. And again, it all depends on the environment that you may need it. And then I guess antacids, aspirin, Tylenol, stuff like that, ibuprofen or whatever you would normally use to get rid of a headache. Even though I don't really use any of those. It's been on the lists. I'd be more of the antidiarrheal and a Benadryl at that rate would be more important in your kit. But again, everybody's requirements, medical situations and all that will require certain levels of, medication that they should have. So really, when you think about your medications or your EDC kit, don't just think about the aspirin, Tylenol. If for some reason you're not able to get home in time to take a scheduled dose of something, maybe carry around an extra pill or two in your EDC that you can have with you should you be running late and you have to take a dose at a certain time, especially if it could mean life or death. Now, I've had an argument with people in the past when it comes to this. It's like, well, I can't just put a plastic bag in my bag and just carry around a bunch of pills. It's illegal. Yes. You have to be careful with this. Now, when you go to pick up your prescriptions, not only is there a label on the bottle, typically there'll be another label stapled to the bag or on the slip somewhere, something that's printed off that's a smaller label, and you can get a little pill container or something, or even put it on the plastic bag itself, that clearly labels the medication that the pharmacy printed with all the necessary information to make it legal to carry that medication around outside of the pill bottle. So use those little labels that come with your prescription when you pick it up, and you will have no problems as long as the medication is clearly labeled and it's identifiable. Besides, purpose of the EDC, which we'll get to later on in the episode, is how to carry this stuff, is really kind of making sure that no one really knows you have it. So it shouldn't be an issue. But should it be an issue, it's just one of my hacks. Now, as far as other items on this great list of things that all these scholarly preppers and, well-to-do folks came up with, they also suggested paper clips, super glue, and a handgun. Now, 34, 35, and 36 on the list, paper clips. I don't really remember when I really needed a paper clip, as long as I really had a safety pin on me. But then again, look at this face. I can pretty much, if I have to push a reset button in anything that's a little hole somewhere, one of my lip piercings could easily do it. But
Yeah, they're tiny. You won't even remember you have them. They're lightweight. They could prove very useful one day. But I haven't really found a really good example besides making a fish hook of what these things could really be typically practical for that other things that you already have in your kit can't do. I don't really think they're strong enough for a fish hook either. But I guess if maybe you're a craft or art teacher in kindergarten, you can use them to hang construction paper pumpkins from the fluorescent lights in your classroom. Turn little pieces of your power cord into zip lines for G.I. Joe figures with them. Outside of that, I don't really see much of a practical use for paper clips. If I'm wrong, please tell me. I just really racked my mind, and I really couldn't figure out why I'd really need a paper clip. Because it seems like out of 33 other items on this list, plus 4 more that were not on this list that I put on here, and some other stuff that, wasn't already covered. But I guess, the experts say that you need a paperclip. 35 on the list, super glue. Now, this one I could definitely agree with. Super glue is great. It's a number of things. Chip crack in the windshield, stone comes up on the highway, you don't want it to start spreading. Put a dab of super glue on there and move on. That'll save you $100 and that's a roadside emergency. Cuts, larger wounds, if you don't have a way to stitch them or suture them, super glue will help there. Me, living the barefoot lifestyle, super glue can come in very handy to close up larger wounds should you step on something extremely large and sharp. Not that I've ever had to use it for that, but I have it if I need it. It can be used for a number of different things. Super glue is very handy. I also thought of another item to add to my list, which no one put on here, which I'm going to add right now, and I will mention it here shortly. Aside from the super glue, the experts also say that you should have a handgun. Well, if the laws allow it, carry a handgun. Why not? Probably the most important thing, according to some folks, that you can have for your own protection. However, there are non-lethal force options that I would definitely explore. First, remember, only pull your gun out if you need to kill someone or you intend to kill them. The topic of the best survival gun and all the what kind of gun to carry and all this, it's been debated over so many times. So I'm not going to bother debating that now. That could be for a completely different episode, or maybe we should do like a challenge me show. We could do that. It's really going to depend on your ability, you as a person, your personal whatever it is, records and all this and all that. So, and your ability to handle one. So 36 is a handgun on the list. Now, a couple of things that they did miss. The one I just threw on here at my number, which continued the list, 37, toilet paper. How could they miss this one? Toilet paper. In an everyday carry situation, you would think that toilet paper would be, one of those everyday essentials. I mean, how many times have you walked into a public bathroom or not been able to get to a bathroom, and you may need your toilet paper? Well, I think it's happened to a lot of folks. Have some toilet paper in your EDC. Along with that, hand sanitizer, which I know that a lot of folks started carrying with them recently within the past 3 years due to obvious reasons because of the C word we're not going to mention on this show because as far as I'm concerned, this thing really didn't exist, but we'll get into that some other time. But one thing when it came to when they were talking about multi-tools is this wallet card. Multi-tools was they omitted the fact that there's this wallet card. This seems to be one of the most underrated survival tools ever. And I think it's really the most practical and one of the best survival tools. And if you go to Are You Ready Radio and look at Tips from the Bunker, there's also a series on there called Off the Shelf. And this is done for the Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, and it'll also appear on the Zombie Outpost YouTube channel as well. If you go to the zombieoutpoststore.com, you'll see the links to the videos there and their product page. You'll also see it on my Tips in the Bunker channel for Are You Ready here on this show. Now, you're going to see how practical this wallet card really is. It probably takes about 5, 6, maybe 7, almost. It definitely takes 12 of the items and consolidates them that are on this list onto one little card that fits in your wallet or your pocket. And so it's definitely worth checking out. It's everything from a blade, a sawback, a compass, screwdrivers, a little wrench, bottle opener, can opener, and even has a hole to hang it around your neck if you really want to. Which actually, that serves another purpose, which if you watch that video, you may want to watch on how to turn that into a way to tell where north is. The wallet card multi-tool is one of the most underrated survival tools ever. And now there's other versions of them that are made as well. You can get ones with little pop-out ones that are fish hooks and different things. They make them that also have pop-outs of other items that you can need in a survival situation. I don't know, I find those kind of gimmicky. I've never been a big fan of those. But the universal wallet card multi-tool is definitely one that I like, believe in, and I carry it. It's in every one of my bags, every one of my kits, and even in my pocket most of the time. Now, before we get to the next break, I do want to hurry up and cut through the next 3. Tweezers are great for pulling splinters out if they're not part of your first aid kit in your EDC. Duct tape was omitted off the master list of what all the experts say you need. That could be very handy. And if you live in a city or a place that has parking meters, a quarter. If you need to run into somewhere and you don't want to pay that ticket, and you pull up to a place and it has a meter, throw a quarter in there. I know you may be a real quick in and out, but tickets start anywhere from $20, $40, depending on where you are, all the way up to $100, depending on what city you're in, and it's just a pain. Throw the 25 cents in there, hurry up, pick up the tickets from the box office and get out. Or, hurry up and pick up the pizza, whatever it is you're doing that you need to pull up in front of some place with a meter. If you're fortunate enough to grab one, it's right there. Murphy's Law, the parking cop is always going to be there behind you, ready to write you a ticket as soon as you think no one's around. I pulled up to meters before and been like, oh my God, I don't even have a quarter on me. And that's why it ended up becoming part of my kit many, many, many years ago. And then in my car kit, I also have at least $2 worth of quarters in that. Not necessarily to carry it in your everyday carry unless you know you particularly have a reason for it. But a couple dollars worth of quarters is great just to use at the air pump. If your tire's running low on air and you're en route, or maybe if your tire starts to go real low, you can put some air in there to see what's going on, make sure it's holding air, get to a place to get it repaired. Some of these air machines that you see at the gas stations, I've seen for as little as $1 and as high as $2, at least in my area. I'm sure you go to some place like Manhattan, it'll probably be about $10 plus an extremely amount of sales tax and convenience fee tax and surcharges. So, keep some quarters if that's what the machines run off of. Other areas do have a way that the cards are accepted at those machines. I'd be very wary about putting a credit card in those machines, though. Those would be prime candidates for skimmers to be able to take your information. Because typically they're in areas that are very little to no surveillance at all to be monitored. Duct tape. Oh, I think I said that. Good thing, because that music means that we are ready for our final timeout before we put a bow on the show. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio. We will be right back. Stick around.
Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also visit our home on the web. Just go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the program's link. If you missed the live show, you can listen to the show's archives on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, Deezer, and many more, including our home on Spreaker. When a disaster happens, are you ready? Do you have the supplies you need to keep you and your family safe and survive? The Zombie Outpost store in Wilmington, Ohio, at Cedar Creek Flea Market, stocks quality gear you need to be ready for the next emergency or even a camping trip. Visit zombieoutpoststore.com for location and hours. Check out our assortment of essentials you need when the next disaster happens. Go to zombieoutpoststore.com. Get 10% off at checkout when you mention Are You Ready Radio. Be ready and be prepared.
In this digital society, making connections is quickly becoming a lost art form. Yet, if you are a small business owner, building your network is the only way you can get ahead. Can these skills be learned? You bet they can. Read Nose to Nose Networking. No nonsense, in-person networking tips from a master. Who's the master? Well, who better to teach networking and friend-building skills than a golden retriever? The author, Melanie Hope, takes the antics of Abigail and translates them into the human experience. Through Abby, you will learn how to set your intention, build a network, and get into and out of conversations with grace. If you love the Dog Abby segments on Counterculture-Wise Radio, you will love Nose to Nose Networking even more. Find it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hard copy, Kindle, and Nook. Visit counterculturewise.com for direct links.
Greetings and salutations, Counterculture-Wise listeners. This is Maximilian von Riegelbieser inviting you and yours to listen to me and mine. Join me, my sisters Abby and Fritzy, and my weekly guests, my father Jim and Mumsy Melanie, for Counterculture-Wise.
Max, it's not your show!
And we're not your guests, Max. We're the hosts. You may want to rein it in a little bit, buddy.
Very well. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific at counterculturewise.com for our amazing live variety show. You can even chat with us. If you ask me, though, it should be called Counterculture Max.
Counterculture-Wise! Radio with heart in mind.
If you like what you are listening to, we appreciate your support. A small contribution from you, the listeners, can continue to help bring you such content and help keep things going here, even if it's just $1 a month. Keep in mind, though, in the spirit of prepping, we believe in redundancy, so it's better to have more than one, but every little bit helps pay the bills. Go to nickpiercemedia.com and click on the Support the Show link. You can make a one-time or monthly contribution in any dollar amount. And again, thank you for your support and listening.
You are listening to Are You Ready Radio with Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper.
All right, and welcome back, everyone. I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. You are listening to Are You Ready Radio, and with just a little under 30 minutes left with you, I do have quite a bit of material to still cover on this episode of our EDC, Everyday Carry Kits. And we've already gone through everything you could possibly put in your EDC, or not possibly. I'm sure a lot of people would probably come up with a lot more random things that they want to put in their kit, but that's what the list the experts gave us. But how are you going to carry all this stuff with you everywhere you go, all the time? First, like I said, that list is just a list of everything to consider just to get your brain thinking about it. Now that you know the items that you may need, now you can either tear up the list or just simply pick which items to carry. Well, when doing this kind of reminds me of what should be our prepper mistake of the week. Actually, why don't we do that right now? Now, remember at the top of the show I said some of this stuff is going to run into the bug out bag or even get home bag list of stuff that you may want. Well, your EDC, the biggest mistake you want to avoid is turning your EDC kit into a get home bag or full-fledged bug out bag. Okay? If anything, the EDC is something you incorporate into your get-home bag. So save some space in your get-home bag to carry your EDC, because that's the basics of some gear you're going to need in that kit. This will also help free up space in your get-home bag and control how much your bug-out bag weighs and keep you from overloading it. Okay? I guess that's pretty much the gist of this. So, carefully select what items you put in your EDC, and although redundancy is good in most cases, in some cases it's not, and it'll help you from overpacking your get-home bag and even eventually your bug-out bag later on. So when making your EDC, address the essentials that you really need and keep it small, keep it something that you will carry on you every day, because one of the biggest mistakes that folks make is making your EDC too big. It turns into a full-fledged survival kit on the verge of get-home bag, eventually bug-out bag, because they never stop putting stuff in it, and they keep getting larger and larger and larger bags or anything just to carry what their EDC equipment should be in, instead of carrying it on them in a small, compact, easy to carry thing that they will actually carry with them every day. So keep that in mind when making your EDC and avoid that mistake. So now this all brings us to really, what do you put in your EDC? You simply want to pick which items you need to carry. It's the things you'll carry with you every day depending on yourself, on your location, your unique situation, and all the possible and likely scenarios that may hit you. Okay? So you're never, ever going to be prepared for everything, especially with a small little EDC. But whether you're in an urban or rural situation, that's a big factor. Another one is your gender, and another one is your skill. So, for example, if you're a lady and you live in a urban environment, your needs are going to be different than the needs of a guy in a rural environment. And same thing, vice versa. Last but not least, think about the situations you might face. Are riots likely to happen, or you need to be ready to catch public transportation last minute when you normally don't? So all those are different scenarios, very broad scenarios, and just some examples that is going to help you model what your kit is based on. So if you live in a rural area and you want another means of signaling your loved ones from a distance, maybe you need a whistle. Many of the items on this list have, as you can see, dozens of uses. So really the things you should do next is learn how to use them and focus on that as well once you do put them in your kit. Learn all the different possibilities that can be used for. Another factor that will determine what items you need, again, will depend on your skills. And then you really got to think about the best way to carry all the stuff that you decide that you do need. So, will you need to wear, something different in order to accommodate it, such as maybe a bag becomes part of your daily wardrobe, which that would, again, be leaning closer to the get-home bag than it would be an everyday carry that maybe is something as small that can fit in your pocket. Or maybe just even different type of clothes that allows you to carry more stuff on you. For example, your keychain. Maybe change something on your keyring with a carabiner. Maybe wear cargo pants that have a lot of pockets. Maybe your phone or tablet case, you can also get one that also holds some cards or some other stuff in it, along with maybe an extra battery in the charger cable and stuff like that. Maybe even a small little belt pack that you can fit a number of different small items in, like a hip pack, a thigh pack. Those are also all very popular. Maybe for the ladies, a bigger purse. Maybe a shirt with a front pocket you can also put stuff in. Everything may not fit in that one front pocket, but you can always add stuff, maybe one or two items to that front pocket. So you're not carrying around an extra bag or anything else. A lanyard, something that goes around your neck to be able to hang something from. Maybe it won't be visible. It'll be underneath your shirt or something. Power cord bracelets, like I mentioned earlier, when it came to the stuff to put to wear when it comes to the power cord. Sometimes some power cord bracelets even have a fire starter and even a compass on them. So look for options like that to save space. It's one less thing you need to carry, but just part of your general wardrobe. You can also get one of those little capsule containers that you can fit a lot of different things in. Even some maybe little travel-friendly multi-tool bracelets. There's so many options out there when it comes to ways to carry the gear that you think that you may need. Be creative, think outside the box, and look around at what's around. Maybe stuff that you already have that you never really thought had much of a purpose for one thing may have for another. And then, of course, consider not looking like you have survival gear. So you may not want to have like this camouflage belt pack or something. Something that says I'm like Mr. Tactical Man over here, and Tactical Superwoman. Have something that may blend in a lot better. And think about micro items like micro flashlights, tiny pepper spray cans, a small multi-tool like that wallet card multi-tool, as they call it, is great. And even like little tiny whistles or something. Think of like the little miniature things that you may have that even could be like considered a toy or something you really didn't think was that practical. Maybe some of the stuff may have been a free giveaway, like a little keychain flashlight or something. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It may be stuff that you may have laying around, maybe in your junk drawer that you got as a promotion somewhere, as a incentive to buy something, or came free as a free gift with a purchase or something. Maybe it's something that your kid pulled out of a 25-cent little machine in a little container that had a sticker in it that could hold a number of things too. Your laptop bag, your purse, backpacks, and stuff like that can all hold a little mini EDC. So you may not need a special anything to really carry it in, just a way to organize it. And honestly, a plastic bag would be just fine for that as well. And when it comes to your EDC, before we run out of time, I want to throw another one out there. What about your pets? Do they need one? Well, here's our prepping for pet segment of the week. So just like if your pet is with you and you bring your get-home bag or a get-home bag for him, or even a bug-out bag for him, if you travel with your pet frequently, like almost on a daily or even a weekly basis, incorporating some of these items into your EDC is an option. So whether you travel around close to home or over greater distances like vacation, you should still have a small kit with you for them as well. Just like your kit, think of a few situations you may find yourself in and what items you may need for them in those situations that you may run into. Sometimes it may be something as simple as maybe a few little clips or rope to repair their leash. Maybe you have a clip or spring brakes on it, and you're out for a walk. Maybe you just have an extra clip like a carabiner or something that may be right on your key ring. Keeping that in mind, and of course your paracord to use as a leash should the leash break or should it snap or something happen to it. You'll have something to be able to remedy a situation in a pinch, and it really becomes part of your pet's bug out, I should say EDC kit, along with yours. Like your medications, sometimes maybe any dose of medicine that they may need to take, should you be running late getting home if they're out with you, that they need to take at a scheduled time, you may want to include in that as well. And another thing is any kind of medical or certification papers that your pet may need to make sure that they can get into certain establishments if they're a service or a support animal, then maybe you should also consider having those as well in your EDC. So, keep that in mind. And, of course, maybe not a separate EDC for them that they need to carry, but some small items you can incorporate into your EDC kit as well. Now, one very important item that some folks overlook when it comes to their EDC is your smartphone. It's capable of storing quite a bit of critical information. One big problem, though, is that a lot of people are really unaware of how much a smartphone can do or how much it can contribute to your everyday survival situations, bug out, get home, and also your everyday carry. So a couple examples, and these I was reading online about some of them, and one of these I even want to make an entire episode about once I was reading up on some of this, and I've often thought about it before, and if you ever watched my ZombieNet video on the Tips in the Bunker series that we have on our YouTube channel, I probably already spoke about this, but I think a whole episode on this would definitely be worth it, and one of these things that your smartphone is very good for. So a couple things that you want to do is, when it comes to the smartphone, is making sure that you can save stuff offline, stuff that you don't need to be on a connection, whether it's your data connection or Wi-Fi or internet to access. So should you not be able to get onto a website, or if the internet's down or something, whatever the situation is, a huge catastrophic event or anything like that, having a version of a lot of this stuff offline is going to be very helpful and very critical. So, for example, maps of your surrounding area. Now, some apps offer the option to save them offline, which means on your phone, in your phone's storage. So whether it's internal or an SD card storage on your device, of course you want to make sure that your phone's compatible and store stuff within the phone, not on a cloud, not through Docs, Google Docs or anything like that. It has to be stored physically on the phone, and you have to be able to access it. If not, none of this works. So making sure that it can be stored offline is what that really means, is being stored on your phone, is very important. And this way it could be very useful. This way you don't need like a 4G connection or something to navigate. Keep in mind the dot moving on the map, which is probably what you're used to, may not really work because your phone carries, maybe your GPS signal's down or anything like that, but at least you'll have a map and be able to make directions off that map, find where you are, know where you're going, and how to get there. Another thing the smartphone is great for is there's a lot of survival apps. And this is what I want to make an entire episode about, which I think I'm going to do for next week. I mean, just as well. Just going through some of this research for you this evening, or whenever you're listening to this show, really made me think about this. And I have a lot of ideas on this and a couple apps that I've found and used over the years, and other stuff that I've looked up and researched just in the creating of this episode. Another thing that you want to do is any electronic copies of your important papers and documents. That could be very handy. Make like a special folder to keep that stuff in, along with maybe emergency contacts. Organize them. Have some sort of maybe contact book aside from just the contacts that you have that you may need to access the internet or your phone's connection to a provider to access documents or folders or contacts with, but have maybe just some type of notepad document on your phone that's stored internally, again that means offline, that you can access should there be a service interruption. And of course you can download survival ebooks. PDF format's great. You can download a PDF reader. Most phones may already have that in there. You can download an app. You can get a lot of survival books and everything online, sometimes free. And they come in like PDF format, and you can store those on your phone as well. There's so many options and ideas when it comes to assembling your EDC, or everyday carry for that matter.
Well, I hope that I helped you seriously think, prepare, and answer the question, are you ready? I'm Nick Pierce, the Barefoot Prepper. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in and the support you give the show. Our guests, the callers, our friends in chat, listeners, clients, customers, everybody at the store, everything. Find Are You Ready on Facebook and Instagram at Are You Ready Radio. You can also find us on the web at nickpiercemedia.com. Click on the program's link. Find us on your favorite podcast platforms and on our home on Spreaker. To contribute to the show, go to Nick Pierce Media and click on the Support the Show link. Are You Ready Radio is the official podcast of Zombie Outpost in Wilmington, Ohio, and is an NP Media Group production.